folks, as I think about the past 4 years and going into this fifth year of our series, I should say, one thing about the program is it's never really had a rigid format. You know, unlike a quiz show, which you can almost predict from scene to scene and commercial to commercial what's going to happen. Even the mysteries today, you can always rely on from 8 to 12 minutes of car driving to fill up the time. Well, tonight's kind of a departure because for a long time I haven't touched magic, and I'm going to show you a bit of magic. Then we're going to follow the program by showing you the power that the human mind can have over the human body and over one's outlook in life. That's after the following commercial. Got to tell you a story because sometimes the most dramatic things take place off camera. When we started our series in Ottawa, after every program, it takes me a while to run down. I eat about 5 meals a day. And I'll usually get to a restaurant, and my producer and director, they'll join us in about 10, 15 minutes. Well, they didn't come for an hour and a half. An hour goes by, I'm a nervous wreck because I start to think to myself, wait a minute, don't tell me the tape machine broke down. And can you imagine doing a whole half hour and never recording? Because the show is done live on tape. Nothing is ever altered unless we go overtime. And they finally showed up an hour and a half later, and as they walk in the restaurant, they're the other end of the restaurant, these people are sitting around me, and they said, we know you're worried, Kreskin. Wait a minute, everything's fine. They said, what you did in the first 4 minutes of the program, it looks so incredible that it looks like trick photography. I'm going to show it to you here tonight, but we're not going to use any split screen. We'll have a little bullet at the bottom of the screen so you can see an important part of the test. But there's not going to be any special machinery. It's going to be done from beginning to end live, as all my shows are. If there's anything that isn't live on the show, it's me, my friends. Can I borrow a ring from some... Let me see the rings you have here in the audience. You gals. I could use the men's rings, but I want to see the gals' rings. Hey, got one there? I want one with a fairly... Yeah, this is interesting. This is the one that really kind of fascinates me. I like the value of that ring. It's pretty. Would you stand for the other ring on, please, and come forward? Let me have a gentleman join me here as well. How about this fellow over here? Gentleman right over there. Would you come? No, right down there. Right there, sir. There. Yes, come forward. Just step on forward, if you will. Come on. Come over here, ma'am, please. Just take your time, if you will, and come up here on stage. Now, I don't know either of you, do I? Yes. We have not met before? Yes. What's your name?
Eltof.
Eltof?
Yes.
Where are you from?
I'm from Pakistan.
Pakistan. Welcome to the show. Nice to have you here.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you. And I did not mean to leave you to last because as the prettier of the two, you don't mind my saying that. What is your name?
It's Pam.
Pam, nice to have you here. Pam, what kind of stone is that on the ring?
An alexandrite.
An alexandrite?
That's right.
It's what color would you say?
Oh, I would say it's a purplish.
Kind of a purplish color. Now, how do I pronounce your name? What does everyone call you here?
Eltof.
Eltof. Yes. Eltof, would you reach in my pocket and take out a handkerchief? You can tell the pocket by the slit there. We always find it easily. Unfold a handkerchief, the K on it, I won't tell you what it stands for. And hand it over to this lovely gal over here. The name again is Pam. Cover the handkerchief, the ring with the handkerchief, please, Pam.
My ring?
No, this ring right here.
Ring
Why do you think I just cover the whole thing? Now, you can open it up. That'd be the easier way of doing it.
Okay.
Like a tablecloth. And just place it right over. Just kind of do it about like that. Now, I handle it so much that someone wrote in and said, maybe by sleight of hand or some digital thaumaturgy. That's the same thing, my friends. Maybe I took it away. Take the handkerchief off again. All right, it is there. Now cover it once more very, very evenly, please, if you will. Fine. The beauty of it is you can kind of see the ring through the shape of the handkerchief. Am I correct?
That's right.
Now, would you take this elastic band off my wrist, please? Now, you're taking the wristwatch off. Oh, I can see. They're teaching you wrong. Pass it over to her, please, if you will. Just pass it over. And place it over the handkerchief to encase the ring. Yes. About to there, to my wrist. Good. I want to close off the sleeve. Place your right hand on top of my wrist. And you can come a little bit closer. As close as you want to come, anytime. Place your other hand under my wrist. Clasp the handkerchief tight. Now, hold the handkerchief quite tightly, if you will. As a matter of fact, if you folks could see my wrist now, you would notice how clearly my hand is getting white as a sheet, which I think is kind of remarkable. I carry with me, folks, a key case. The irony of it is, this is the trunk key to my car. I have not held my car ignition key for about 3 or 4 years because I'm home about 3 days a month. That's been true for 8 years. So you can imagine how little mileage I put on the car. I'm holding the key case about 7 or 8 yards from my left hand. The lack of reaction shows that you'll believe anything I say, folks. Now watch this. Watch this very carefully because the few hundred of you here in the audience can see that there's been no break in the tape. Hold it tightly, if you will. Now watch. Look. There's enough light showing through. What's just happened? What's just happened?
It's gone.
The ring is gone. In fact, you probably heard something drop for a moment. Am I correct? You didn't feel it touch your hand, did you? Nothing touched your hand. Watch. This is hard to believe. Look. What's just equally amazing is that the ring is literally latched in the latch exactly the way the key is. Am I correct on that? Matter of fact, it would be just as amazing if I could unlatch your ring. I thank you. This should add more to your life because of the magic that's become attached to it. I thank you as well. Welcome to this country, and we'll be back after the following rather magical message. Special guest for a number of years. As a matter of fact, I've looked forward to having her on my series for quite a long time. A recent Gallup poll has named her one of the 9 most popular and recognized women in the world, I believe. As a matter of fact, she has popularized the science of psychology in a way that I think has brought to it a greater responsibility and a greater acceptance. Would you all welcome with me Dr. Joyce Brothers? I'm curious, Joyce. We know there's a great interest in magic today. I don't just mean magic in the area of conjuring or show business, but I guess what would be called the occult and certainly extrasensory perception, although they can be divided regarding laboratory research and just a popular cultural interest. What do you think is the reason for the unusually increased interest the past few years?
I think a lot of people have looked for answers to some of the overwhelming problems that we have and not found these answers. So they've turned to areas that are mysterious to them, that are far off, or that they feel might conceivably have the answers that they can't find where they've looked. And so anything that seems different or from far or might have some mystery has a pulling power. I think also we've realized that there is a limit to man's rational abilities. Man has been able to put another man on the moon, and yet we have not even begun to solve the problems of violence or racism or overpopulation. And so we say, well, if scientific rational development hasn't produced an answer, maybe some other area might.
Joyce, is there a danger, is there a real danger that perhaps some people may expect too much from some of these, occult means hidden, some of these areas, and at the same time lose a lot of the realism that's necessary in order to survive in life or to survive in one's relationship with others? What do you feel about that?
I think you're making a very important point. That is, certain things are fun. For example, astrology might be something that would be fun or
if it's done just for fun or curiosity.
But there are some people who allow it to run their lives, and they will not make, they won't go out of a house at certain times, or they won't make a business deal, or they're afraid to trust their own feelings, a kind of a gut feeling, I should do this or I should not do that. And when you let it run your life, then I think you're using it in a wrong way. The people who have the most need to foretell the future are those individuals who are not very sure that they can cope with the future when it happens.
That's
and the more you can depend on your own abilities, the less you need to divine the mysterious.
It's a beautiful point. You know, I was going to, may I interrupt you just for a second, because that reminds me of something that, aside from the occultism and so forth, in the 1930s it was true, and it's true now. Your most popular movies, look at their things like The Exorcist, Carrie, and then some of the Gothic horror stories, and in the 1930s there was Frankenstein and Dracula and musicals. Is it because of escapism that they were popular and that they're capturing the public now? What do you think about that, Joyce?
Well, sometimes it's a little bit of fun to be afraid if it's in
I
a
enjoy it.
controlled situation.
Yes, like Hansel and Gretel reading.
Yeah. Hansel and Gretel is fun if your mother or dad is reading it to you and you know how it's going to end and they're reassuring it's only a story. And so it's controlled scariness. And when you're sitting in a movie theater and you're watching some of the horror pictures or the scary ones, it's nice to know that you're safe and yet you have the little goosebumps and the increase in heart rate. There's a feeling almost of pleasurable excitement when you're scared and know that you can control that fright.
I was scared by a movie called See No Evil with Mia Farrow, where she was a blind person. Anybody see that here in the audience? It paralyzed me. Joyce, talk about horror and science fiction. Star Wars has become tremendously popular. We've got a clip from it that we're going to run, and I have not seen this movie. Can we roll that now? Here, of course, it was not a horror movie, but it dealt with fantasy. Mm-hmm. And I guess in this case, Joyce, the monsters, if they were monsters, were mechanical men. Look at this. Oh, my gosh.
We seem to be made to suffer. It's our lot in life. I've just about had enough of you. Go that way. You'll be malfunctioning within a day, you nearsighted scrap pile. And don't let me catch you following me, begging for help, because you won't get it. No more adventures. I'm not going that way.
Interesting. What would you have to say about that? Because that was a scene of mechanical men, Joyce.
Well, I think the appeal of Star Wars, there's an appeal on several levels. To the children, it's a fairy story, a space science fiction story. But to adults, we've been so frightened about what the mechanical things can do, what the computers can do, that they might take over the world or take over mankind. This movie portrays the androids, the droids, as very human. The little one is just cute, and the tall one has all kinds of problems. And it's very comforting to believe that mechanical things can be human-like and have emotions and have problems, and also have a feeling of loyalty where one tries to give up his life to save the other. And that is a very comforting thing to adults who have been brought up in a very mechanical world and a little bit afraid of it.
We'll be back after the following commercial. I don't know where our time is going. We'll see you in a moment, folks. Well, I'm going to be very conscious as to where we are in time, because I think I could be conversing with Dr. Brothers throughout a program, forgetting about any demonstrations. We're talking about how individuals can react in ways that seem physical but could be emotional. In the old days, they used to call it, I guess, classic hysteria, didn't they? And they were maybe more dramatic. And each of these could have, in some cases, I guess, totally emotional causes. Is that true, Joyce?
You first look for physical causes, because it's only when that's ruled out that you can say that they are emotional. But you can have emotional causes of loss of speech, or the tremor of the hands, or numbness of the left arm, or numbness of the right arm.
In the old days, it was very classically blamed, as you said, all through the centuries, whether it was on magnetism. In the 1910s, people said they were being hypnotized by telepathy. Then in the Orson Welles era, it was a classic situation.
I bet you they even said that the dinosaurs bothered them.
Well, they would have bothered these, Joyce. I'm going to have some people come forward. And what I did really, there's so little time. Jim Corey, who's my right-hand man. Now, I talked to some people in the audience. I wanted to test their imagination. And Jim, would you bring these folks forward? Would you welcome Jim and the people? I don't really know these folks. We're going to have to... How are you, man? How are you? You? Man? And this is Jim. Jim, come around here. Say hello to our audience. How are you, Jim? Jim,
Good,
is
great.
Dr. Brothers here? I
How
can
are you?
use Jim many times. Joyce, I'm gonna kind of choreograph this. I'm gonna kind of have you here as an observant. You know, by the way, folks, do not misread anything we've talked about. This is not anything clinical. We're doing this kind of for fun. And anyone who suffers from these problems, do not feel that this has anything to do with the problems. I'm showing a demonstration that has visual qualities to it. I want you, ma'am, what is your name?
Marion Oxley.
Marion Oxley, nice to have you here. Would you take that card in your hand? And Joyce, maybe you can give one to the couple of the fellows at the end and this gal right here. Now, we don't have too much time. Here's a couple marking pencils, Joyce. I want each of you to take one of these marking pencils. Now, go backstage. Folks, I think what I'm going to best do is to have you take this card with you. Now, I could have had you just decide on a color, or you can think of a playing card or so forth, but this has got visualness and personalness. Now, we've got loss of speech. I hope none of you suffer from any of these, but if you do, see a doctor, of course. Tremor of the hands, numbness of the left arm, numbness of the right arm, total paralysis, could be any inability to walk or what have you. Now, take the card. One of you fellows, take the card in your hand. Go backstage. Now, listen carefully, because we don't have that much time. You must conspire amongst the four of you to decide, each of you, on one of those areas that you're going to hold in your mind. But you must make sure that you don't duplicate it. I mean, don't three of you think of the same one. Write down on the card what you've decided upon, then come in, and when you come back, hold the card against you so I cannot see your writing. In other words, each of you decide on a different one. Is that understood? Can we raise the door behind? I'm going to ask all of you. Jim, would you escort them back there? But do not, if you will, it was asked, how about if they go around through there, all right? Now, while they're doing that, Joyce, how in the past, what would be the explanation of a person, psychiatrically, an individual who would come to a physician and say, I'm being controlled, and every time I have this control taking me over, I can't move my arm, or I have a tremendous headache. Was it classically called paranoia? Or was that part of the causes behind it? Or?
You could not put a label on that kind of symptom, and I think it's important to understand that you find the same symptom in a normal individual as you would find in the abnormal.
That's so
it's
good to
simply a matter of degree and how much it interferes with the individual's life.
Does that mean, Joyce, if someone, those who are not accustomed as you and I to appearing before an audience, a person who would go before an audience, and it happened in the radio days, forgot their name, they were not necessarily emotionally disturbed, but they were under pressure that they were not used to handling.
Moment, certainly.
See, folks?
And then the same kind of symptom in one illness can be found in another illness. It's a syndrome of symptoms, a whole group of different kinds of symptoms.
I see.
That lets a person
Not
say
just one.
this person has a mental illness or this person has a neurosis, and it is a very difficult diagnosis to make.
Good. Jim, where are you out front here? I did not want you with our group. Where are you, Jim? Jim?
Right here.
Are you with the group, Jim? I wanted you to stay away from the group so that they do not see you. Come forward. Come out through here, Jim. Stay right about right there. That's all right. Because if you knew what they were deciding upon, then it could seem like perhaps Jim was cluing me. Folks, when you're ready, would you come by the doorway and come forward? We only have a very short amount of time, and I'm afraid not quite enough to complete the test. Are you right? Would you come forward, folks, as soon as you're ready? Quickly, please. It's the factor of time. Hold the card against you so I cannot see it, please, if you will. And if you will, just be seated here. Keep the card hidden, if you will. Now, I'll take the marking pencil back. I don't know how our time is. We don't have enough time. Would you sit down, please, if you will? Just sit down, folks. Thank you. Joyce, could I have you hold these, if I may? Now, your name, by the way, is? Paul and Bev. Mike. Mary. I want you to concentrate. I'm going to leave. Joyce, could you hold the chart so I could see it? Paul, you have in mind what you decided upon. Am I correct? Yes. Oh, I'm going to have to do it this way. I don't have enough time, but I'll show this to camera. It's Mike. All right, let me just set this where you cannot see it against your legs. Like that. So that we'll not fall. Maury, I don't know. Can you folks see what this is? I don't know how our time is right now. Would you put your legs like that so I can set it so no one else can see? It's bad, huh? I can't get it. It's Paul. I don't know if that's clear. I'm not really thinking about this. And by the way, I'm not trying to foster a belief in supernaturalism. Of course I'm doing this just for demonstration purposes. Joyce, if I can just walk around for a quick second like this, and I want to walk through them one more time, excuse me. You might wonder why I'm doing this, but there's many ways of communicating that are nonverbal, and this may not make sense to many people. I have what I think each of you, I just want to join you folks 1/3 time. I'm not going to even make a close on this show, folks, a comment. But I've walked around you 3 times. She had left arm, numbness of left arm. Left, I don't remember what I got there. Left, feet, legs. Total paralysis below the waist. I think I got that. Right arm, numbness of right arm. Speech. What made you decide on speech? What made you decide? What made you decide? You can't talk? Try to talk as hard as you will. What is your name, sir? Paul, come over here if you will, please, Paul. Just step over here. What's the matter, Paul? Now really try. Try as hard as you can, Paul. Don't fake anything. Try as hard as you can. What's the matter, Paul? Would you take one of these in each of your hands, please? What's the matter? What's the matter? Pardon me?
Won't go.
What won't go?
My right arm won't go.
Isn't that something? How about you, ma'am? Would you... It's interesting how she converted it there into the other arm. You can't speak. Try as hard as you can. Try as hard as you can. Try to shout. Try to shout. What happens when you try to shout? You're not faking, are you? And you can't get out of your chair? Try to throw yourself out of your chair. What's your name, sir?
Paul.
What happens when you try, Paul?
I'm just stuck in the chair.
You're stuck in the chair. Well, folks, they may be here with me next week. It's for all I know. But I want you to realize that it shows not only the power of a negative idea, but if an idea negatively can be so awesome, think of what good, positive, constructive thinking can do family-wise, work-wise, and friendship-wise. I thank Dr. Brothers, and hope you'll all join me next week. Be the good Lord willing. Joyce, come over.